impeach former President Trump for allegedly inciting the riot at the Capitol. Cheney, who stands by her decision, appeared on Fox News Sunday.
The oath that I took to the Constitution compelled me to vote for impeachment, and it doesn't bend to partisanship. It doesn't bend to political pressure.
The former president's second impeachment trial begins this week. More stimulus money from millions of Americans could be approved in weeks as Democrats press ahead with President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief plan. The package wouldn't need Republican support, but it appears not all Democrats are on the same page.
The new chairman of the Budget Committee, an independent Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, taking Democrats to task, tweeting, "Unbelievable. There are some Dems who want to lower the income eligibility for direct payments from $75,000 to $50,000 for individuals and $150,000 to $100,000 for couples. In other words, working class people who got checks from Trump would not get them from Biden. Brilliant."
Fox's David Spunt. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the risk that the stimulus plan could cause inflation has to be considered, but she believes the most important risk is not doing enough. The police chief in Wichita, Kansas, calls the death of a teenage girl one of the saddest cases he's been associated with. The 13-year-old died yesterday after being dragged several miles by her family's SUV after it was stolen from a restaurant. Authorities say Kevin Palmer jumped in the driver's seat and took off. The girl, who was in the back, tried to jump out but got caught in the seatbelt. Palmer is charged with murder. America's listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Thousands of students in Chicago still don't know if they'll be heading to the classroom tomorrow. Last night, a joint statement was issued by the mayor and the CEO of Chicago Public Schools. They say negotiations on a comprehensive agreement to reopen schools continue. Senate Republican Rand Paul believes it's critical that students get back to in-person learning.
There's already talk of increased numbers of suicide, isolation, but most parents just aren't capable of teaching. Some are extraordinary teachers, but a lot of parents aren't.
Teachers' unions have argued they need more assurances about coronavirus safety and vaccines. Schools in Israel remain closed, but after 6 weeks of lockdown, virus restrictions are starting to ease there. Some businesses reopened today, and people can now travel more than half a mile from their homes. It's game day in Tampa, Florida, where 2 NFL quarterbacks will be the ones to watch.
Much of the hype leading up to tonight's Super Bowl showdown has surrounded Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs and Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady at age 43, set to be the oldest player to ever compete in a Super Bowl. The QB looking for his 7th career ring and his 10th appearance all time in the big game.
This whole time has been really hardcore prep, and now we ultimately have to be confident what we're doing and go out there and get the job done.
Meantime, Patrick Mahomes is looking to join Brady as the only other quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls in his first 4 seasons.
That's a huge deal, and we're going to try to really not take any day for granted and prepare ourselves to be the best that we can be.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
In local news, 23-year-old Graffiti artist Adam Zane has captured the heart of 19-year-old college sophomore Jessica Tisolo. Zane, who goes by the graffiti handle Slice, met Tisolo last summer at an annoyingly self-aware dive bar where the talentless artist caught Tisolo's eye with his cliched sleeve tattoos of trite Japanese imagery and the fact that he was wearing a winter hat indoors in the middle of June.
His art is really just the absolute worst. I think we're going to get married someday.
And now for This Week in Tech, brought to you by LG. An excited groom sends text messages to his buddies during his bride's vows. And a collection of VHS tapes are held onto for one more year. In other news, a burglar makes sure to crack the glass on a family portrait before leaving. There's nothing in the employee handbook about groping dead co-workers, an employee says. And a report finds that nobody's heard from David Blaine in a while, so somebody should probably check to see if he died in one of those things. Mere seconds have passed, yet we feel as though we've known you 1,000 lifetimes. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Sibilance. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Check, 1, 2, 3. Money order. Bitcoin, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think it's working. What do you guys think?
Eddie Torres.
Eddie Torres. Yes, it is Free Talk Live. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is the probably one in a series of one-time editions of what I'm going to call Sci-Fi Sunday.
Sci-Fi Sunday.
Sci-Fi Sunday, because I happen to have, and Peakless Mountaineer and I have discussed at least one of these three things, but I have three topics for tonight and articles to coincide that are sort of science fiction-ish, although they're a little more based in reality than science fiction would be, but some, pretty far out, man. Like, wow, far out.
Well, we absolutely do live in science fiction times.
Well, we certainly live in a dystopian future. If you'd have told me in, say, 2005, that if you went out in your daily life, grocery shopping to the gas station, whatever, just doing your regular mundane stuff that you do as a human to get by these days, that everybody would be wearing masks and avoiding you within, say 6 feet or so and all this kind of thing. And that, the government would be cracking down on people for not doing these things. I would have said, yeah, right, whatever. But no, we're here.
It's a good day to do it because right now, everyone except for the nerds are preoccupied.
Are you talking about the superb owl?
I could be. Are we talking about that? I marked this day because it's like my Free Talk Live anniversary day.
Is it really?
Like my first night on Free Talk Live was a superb owl Sunday.
Well, happy anniversary.
So I just go, it's that day? I'm on. Like I've been here for that many years now.
How many years
actually
has
didn't,
it been?
I had no idea that was tonight.
Two
year anniversary.
You're two.
I know, it's so special.
Well, I mean, I'd like to not have any real crying outbursts if possible.
Okay. Well, it's too late, Captain.
I did not bring an extra bottle with a nipple on it for you. So,
I thought you carry a box of tissue with you everywhere.
No, I just use my sleeve.
Oh, okay. Remind me never to borrow socks from you.
Sometimes I'll just wipe my nose with my index finger and then wipe it on my pants.
Okay. That's a pretty standard move.
Yeah. It makes for good decor later. At any rate, this is Free Talk Live. You've tuned into the right program. Our telephone number, should you wish to join the conversation, is 603-283-6160.
Please call so we can stop listening to Captain Snotty Sleeve stories.
Jeez, man, we haven't gotten started, man. We're not even 2 minutes into the show.
He's got at least a dozen more Snotty Sleeve stories. Just look at his show prep screen.
603-283-6160 if you would like to join us. I am your host this evening, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer. And Rich.
Yes, emphasis on the E, apparently. So I've learned. Yes, yeah. I always thought just your first name was Richie.
Yeah.
R-I-C-H-I-E and then last name Rich. But no, apparently it's Rich and then space and then E,
right?
Period, and then Rich again after that space, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Now, if I look at his show prep screen, we might actually have an infinite number of Snotty Sleeve stories because we might end up in a closed time-like loop.
Oh, are you segueing into the sci-fi aspect of Sci-Fi Sunday?
It sounds like Peakless Mountaineer is tired of listening to my Snotty Sleeve stories and wishes to commence with the topic of du jour.
I have this theory that there are some things, if you name them, then they never occur. So, of the time-like loops I'd like to avoid getting locked into.
Return to normal.
Wouldn't that be something?
I just named it.
Although you were talking about like things that I wouldn't believe if you told me in 2005. One of them, the Red Scare that happens now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never saw that coming. Like, it's a Russian agent, Russian agents under the bushes, Russian agents running for president.
Well, and the Chinese scare too, right? Everything. Oh, it's the Chinese.
I mean, I guess I watched too many 80s action movies. I just figured like the Russian scare is just an ongoing thing.
Oh, you're talking about, what's the name of that movie? It's the star-studded cast, the Red Dawn.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That is one of them.
Yeah.
Also Rocky, right?
This time we win.
And I might have had, the blind optimism that we didn't end up in a 1984 version of reality.
Well, we did.
Yeah, because, that one pretty much spelled out, it didn't exactly spell out, but the whole, East Asia, Eurasia, Pacifica, Oceania, that was the three superpowers that he saw coming, the Chinese, Russian, and American/European superpowers.
See, and I remember China being on the rise in, various form or fashion for decades at this point.
Yeah.
Like, learn Chinese. You don't need to take Spanish in high school. Learn Chinese because they're going to be, on the world stage by the time it's important to you.
But, everybody took Spanish anyway.
Because it's easier.
And more useful.
It's almost English.
If you want to talk to Chinese people, speak English. There's more English speakers there than here.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, so kicking things off, this is from ScienceAlert.com. This from their physics section. A physicist has worked out the math that makes paradox-free time travel plausible.
I saw that headline. I felt it was going to go over my head, so I didn't bother reading it. I went, ooh.
Yeah. Well, so for our listeners who don't know what a paradox is, in the concept of time travel, it's supposed to be like if you go back to, I don't know, kill Hitler or something, that it's impossible to do because the timeline will just write itself.
Sure.
That's because you can't have the paradox.
Well,
I'm just glad you didn't make a joke about some pair of something or other.
Well, the most famous paradox in time travel talking circles, moving right along, is the grandfather paradox, which I've only seen successfully solved in media once, which was Fry becoming his own grandfather. But
my own
Dr.
grandpa.
Demento has a song called I'm My Own Grandpa.
Right.
And, of course, the easiest way for you to become your own grandfather is to just marry your grandmother.
It's hypothetically genetically possible, although freakishly unlikely.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the idea that, well, if I go back in time and somehow, prevent my own birth, then how can I build the time travel device later that I went back in time for?
Right. Or that awkward moment during Back to the Future where the main character dude, was maybe bordering on possibly banging his mom because, she was hot and young and he was there at the high school, not being himself, but being, the time traveler that he was.
Yeah, he was in great danger of paradoxing himself out of existence.
Yeah.
I like the Family Guy skit on that where, George is talking to Lorraine about, how their son looks exactly like the guy she almost hooked up with in high school.
Almost.
Did you run into him about 15 years ago?
That would be disturbing.
This is written by a man called David Nield, Nield, not Kneel''.
On this timeline, it is.
All right. No one has yet managed to travel through time, at least to our knowledge. But the question
That's a lie. I'm traveling through time right now.
Backwards.
I'm just doing it very steadily and only in one direction.
Yeah, that's true. We're all moving forward in time theoretically because we only perceive time as linear.
I think the whole time travel myth has been debunked by MIT. I think it was MIT who had the Time Travelers Convention some years ago, and they were only going to do it once because, hey, if you're a time traveler, you know what it is. You just show up, and no one did.
Well, and that makes a lot of assumptions like they care.
Okay.
And that they, feel like doing that. and that they didn't decide, well, we could do that, but it might keep us from making the time travel device later.
Okay.
Well, the question of whether or not such a feat would be theoretically possible continues to fascinate scientists, as movies such as The Terminator, Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, and many other shows moving around in time creates a lot of problems for the fundamental rules of the universe.
12 Monkeys did it best.
That was pretty good, yeah. If you go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, for instance, how can you possibly exist in order to go back in time in the first place? This would be a paradox. It's a monumental head-scratcher known as the grandfather paradox. Thank you, Peakless Mountaineer.
Welcome.
But in September last year, a physics student, Jermaine Tobar from the University of Queensland, Australia, said he's worked out how to square the numbers, quote-unquote, to make time travel viable without paradoxes. Classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system, said Tobar back in September of 2020.
Also its future, incidentally.
Indeed. However, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops or time travel where an event can be both in the past and in the future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head. What the calculations show is that space-time can potentially adapt itself to avoid paradoxes. 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join the conversation, more Free Talk Live coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to the show. It is Free Talk Live.
Welcome back.
I don't remember the rest of the words, so
I only remember the welcome
hey,
back
Mr.
part.
Carter. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Up your nose with a rubber hose.
Twice as far with a chocolate bar. That's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Question my Dr. Demento affiliation. That's right. That's right. I got Demento credits, pal. It is Free Talk Live. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join the conversation in the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And we're talking, or we just started talking about this article from ScienceAlert.com. A physicist has worked out the math that makes paradox-free time travel plausible. Not possible. There's a difference in the
because it's only on paper. He's only got the math down.
Well, plausible is bigger than possible.
Well, how so?
Well, okay, so it is possible that I just appeared out of nowhere. You know, if quantum physics is correct, it's possible.
Schrodinger's peakless mountaineer?
Right.
Okay.
So it's possible that every single atom in my body just sort of poofed into existence. It's possible. Really unlikely. It's not plausible that that happened.
What's more plausible is that you were like born and you grew up and you moved here and now you're on the show.
Hogwash.
Oh, that's an interesting concept for a business.
Hogwash?
Yeah, you know how they have like the dog wash where you
Okay.
can like bring your dog? How about you have one of those for pigs?
That would be stinky.
Talk about a niche market.
That's right.
Only for farmers out in the real rural areas?
If you were a time traveler, you'd know that that's never going to exist.
Or that it will exist and you know when to enter the market.
That's true. That is true. Movies such as The Terminator, Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, and many other shows move around in time, creating lots of problems for the fundamental rules of the universe. If you go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, for instance, how can you possibly exist in order to go back in time in the first place?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about that. There's more to this article, but we do have some callers. So let's go to Greg in Vermont. Greg, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, first-time caller from your not-as-free state next door.
Vermont, that is. Yes, indeed. Well, thanks for calling. What is on your mind tonight?
Well, quick comment on the time travel, then I'll get to my question.
Okay.
Considering every being creates a certain level of balance in the universe, if you went back in time, you would throw the balance off and it would change everything anyways, unless you arrange to exchange places with someone from that same time.
But with time travel, you could also just return to the exact moment you left and everything would carry on as normal.
Yeah, one of the things that this theory goes into is that there may in fact be a sort of self-correcting mechanism to time travel.
Oh man, spoilers.
I know.
Like Captain America returning the Infinity Stone. All back in its place.
Yep.
Right when it was gone.
It just goes back. Yep.
Yep.
The old.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I had
Greg.
a question I wanted to throw out at you.
Go ahead.
Over here in Vermont, we have our two senators. One's a Democrat, the other one's listed as an independent.
Socialist.
Now, in the Senate right now, we have 50 Republicans. There's 49 Democrats and 1 independent. Why aren't the Republicans the party in control?
That is an interesting question, if it is true.
You would think they would be.
What's the answer, Greg?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you're asking. Oh, I see. I thought there was a punchline.
So are you saying? Hold on. So are you talking about Vermont or the U.S.?
The U.S. Senate.
I'm talking about the U.S.
Yeah, I thought it was. I actually didn't know about the independent. Is that Bernie Sanders?
Yes.
He doesn't count as an independent.
He is an independent.
Well, he's
Democrats
registered
only
as an
have
independent. He just always votes with the
49,
Democrats.
Yeah, the thing is, the independent is lockstep with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, so
I mean,
yeah, it's
no, but what his point is he may be voting lockstep, right? But he's not registered as a Democrat. So there's the Republicans outnumber the registered Democrats and should have a Senate majority.
Well, so if your independent didn't vote lockstep with the Democratic Party, then that would be true. However, since it's 50-50 and they also have the tie-breaking vice president. Because that's the thing. The vice president breaks any ties in the Senate.
That gets to my other point. The vice president only comes into play if a tie needs to be broken.
And she's already done that once.
What's that?
She's already had to do that once. And go figure.
But the thing is constitutionally, that's the only time that the vice president votes in the Senate is to break a tie.
Right. But it's all.
So even if Bernie Sanders changed his party designation to Democrat, it would still be a 50-50 split. So why would one party have any more control over the Senate than the other?
Because they have the
tiebreaker. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts today, Greg?
That's it. Those are my head scratchers. I appreciate you guys being on the air. I love listening to you.
I guess it's because there's no real power affiliation in the Senate, right? It's just how along what line are they going to vote?
Well, so when he first posited the question, you guys were talking about Bernie Sanders being the independent, but yet voting Democrat. I was like, well, because one of them's a liar. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's the Senate we're talking about. They're all freaking liars.
Right.
So then, you know, the answer is that they're all a bunch of power-hungry tyrants. Yeah. And, you know, whatever they vote on is going to mean more for them and less for you.
Right. Bernie Sanders' party affiliation is less important than how he votes on whatever issue. And if he's always going to vote left Democrat, then it's you know, if everything comes down to partisan lines, it's always going to be a 50-50 split, and Kamala Harris will be in there to push it over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't remember what came up, but she's already broken a tie, obviously in favor of the Democrats.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's been interesting hearing with the Republicans in control of the Senate, and it's like, no, they're not. It's like, oh, well, technically they outnumber the Democrats. It's like, yeah, that does not matter. Your party affiliation does not matter. So hypothetically, you could have all 100 Republicans, but if 50 of them vote the way a Democrat would, then you would have essentially Democratic control of the Senate, because they'd have the 50-50 split, and then they'd have the vice president breaking the tie.
Would it be more important in the House, because then you would have the Speaker of the House for your party? If there was a split along party lines, or, you know, one way or the other in that chamber of Congress.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Because then Nancy Pelosi wouldn't be the Speaker of the House, right? Because it would be a Republican in some form or fashion. And I don't know what that would do to the voting, but it would definitely change the power dynamic within the structure.
Yeah.
Or you could just have the exact same setup with an R instead of a D.
Yeah.
So Nancy Pelosi, the elected Republican.
Right. But if she was elected Republican, she wouldn't be Speaker of the House, because the Ds have the majority in the House of Representatives.
Well, she could just be elected as the Speaker of the House by the Republican Party.
If the Republican Party had the vote.
Yeah.
If there were a time traveler amongst us, they would already know the answers to this and other questions if they were from the future, in theory.
If they were from the past, though.
If they were from the future and came to the past, they would know the answers, in theory. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live on the way.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
061-638-2306. That is our telephone number backwards for those of you who wish to decipher it and want to call.
Is that because you're traveling backwards in time?
Well, right, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. No, it's actually 603-283-6160 for those of you traveling forward in time, or at least linearly existing like the rest of us humans are.
Just mash the buttons on the phone and talk to whoever picks up.
Speak to an operator.
That's Ories Skis. No, sorry, I can't talk backward.
Speak to an agent.
That was a very Captain Kick-Ass attempt there.
Thank you.
In the studio tonight, it is myself, the captain.
Beagless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about this article from ScienceAlert.com claiming that non-paradox time travel is plausible, at least mathematically. Classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system, as you guys have both said. However, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops or time travel, where an event can be both in the past and future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head.
We exist on a Mobius strip.
What the calculations show is that space-time can potentially adapt itself to avoid paradoxes, because we only think linearly, but time doesn't necessarily exist linearly.
Now, I've been toying with a thought like this myself, just that, okay, well, so my thought on this one was, like, if you would travel back in time and do some kind of paradox where you don't end up making the time machine, then when you go to flip it on, it just doesn't work. Like, that was my thought on it, is like, okay, well, if time exists in a nonlinear way where you could, like, step back from the timeline, okay, so it would know, more or less, that sending you back in time would end up with you not making this machine. So if that were going to occur, it just doesn't happen because the machine doesn't turn on.
Well, to use a topical example, imagine a time traveler journeying into a past to stop a disease from spreading. If the mission was successful, the time traveler would have no disease to go back in time to defeat. Tobar's work suggests that the disease would still escape some other way through a different route or by a different method, removing the paradox. Whatever the time traveler did, the disease would not be stopped.
See, and that, if we're talking about movies, that kind of parallels with the time machine, right? Because he continually travels back in time to, like, save his, darling dear, was his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and fails every single time. And then, spoiler, goes into the future to try to figure out a way to go back to the past and then screws it all up.
Yep. Tobar's work isn't easy for non-mathematicians to dig into, but it looks at the influence of deterministic processes without any randomness on an arbitrary number of regions in the space-time continuum, and demonstrates how both closed timeline curves, as predicted by Einstein, can fit in with the rules of free will and classic physics. The math checks out, and the results are the stuff of science fiction, said physicist Fabio Costa from the University of Queensland, who supervised the research. The new research smooths out the problem with another hypothesis, that time travel is possible, but that time travelers would be restricted in what they did to stop them from creating a paradox. In this model, time travelers have the freedom to do whatever they want, but paradoxes are not possible.
Well, how would that work? Because they would reach out to, like, stop the vial from falling, and they just would not be able.
Right.
That'd be
right. Okay. So, for example,
what is going on with my hand?
So, for example, one possible solution to this one, in that sort of secondary one, that where they have free will, but they're limited in certain ways.
Right.
So, for example, let's say you go back in time, like their example of a disease breaks out, right? So you go back in time to keep this disease from breaking out. One thing, you might forget why you went back in time. Like, that piece of information just might not be available to you until it's too late. And then whatever domino falls to start this thing, and then suddenly you remember, oh, right, that's why I'm back here.
Yes, I'm calling this the self-healing indeterministic timeline. You figure out that acronym for yourself. I can't say it on the air.
Okay.
But you're in it now. Right?
So if you like tattooed on your arm, right, like, stop the virus, and then you go back in time, does your tattoo disappear then?
Or maybe you just can't read it. You try and look at it, and every time you try and look at it, it just, you get all dyslexic.
It's like how Batman figured out he was in a dream because he couldn't read anything.
Like that.
Interesting. While numbers might work out, actually bending space and time to get into the past remains elusive. The time machines that scientists have devised so far are so high concept that they currently only exist as calculations on a page.
Yeah. So if we're being serious for just a moment, my general belief with regard to time travel is that time itself is like the construct that we use to measure things, but that space itself just exists. So you can't go back to a previous, space, existence, because it's just always there.
It just is.
It just is.
Yeah.
And
Right. So and that's kind of.
I don't follow you at all there.
Well, what he's saying is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but my interpretation of what he's saying is the same thing that I said, which is humans experience time in a linear fashion, but time doesn't exist in a linear fashion.
It doesn't exist at all. Right. We've created it as a way to determine.
It's a perception.
Things. Yeah. So like the ball Earth is just there out in space and doesn't exist in any particular timeline. It's just there.
Well, it's hardly parsimonious. So, I mean, a simpler explanation would involve some kind of time existing, because certainly we can use it as if it did exist.
Well, that's the construct that we've created to make sense of things.
Okay, but you are still left with the problem that it works as if time exists. So then you'd have to have a different explanation for why does it seem to exist as if time exists. Like, I can move this cup.
Right.
And if I do, I will have a memory of it being there instead of where it goes to.
Right.
I can imagine myself moving it, plan on moving it, and then I move it, and then that works. So if time doesn't actually exist, you have to come in and explain why that operation's possible.
Because you just move the cup.
Well, time exists. It's just that our perception of it is only linear. Right? And so that's why we have things like you can obviously visibly see human beings aging. Right? Over the course of your life, right, you'll see yourself age, right? I've got gray hair in my beard now that I didn't used to have. And so, well, if time doesn't exist, why is my beard gray, right? Well, time does exist. It's just that human beings are only capable of perceiving it in a linear time fashion.
See, now that makes sense to me. And what I always wondered is, okay, so they basically explain time as a fourth dimension of space.
Right.
So my thought is, well, why would there only be 4?
Right, why couldn't there be 8 or 12 or 137?
So like,
there's a YouTube video on the 10th dimension.
Right.
Go figure that one out.
They actually kind of drop the ball after a few of them and just start repeating themselves.
Because it just starts to flatten themselves. Yeah. You can go add infinitum.
Yeah, they're not adding actual dimensions. They're just repeating themselves.
Well, because you can't perceive the dimensions that they're adding.
Oh, I can.
Oh, okay.
Regarding time travel, this article says, we might get there one day, but Stephen Hawking certainly thought it was possible. If we do get there, then this new research suggests we would be free to do whatever we wanted to in the world of the past. It would readjust itself accordingly. Try as you might to create a paradox, the events will always adjust themselves to avoid any inconsistency, says Costa. The range of mathematical processes we discovered show that time travel with free will is logically possible in our universe without any paradox.
Infinite dimensions with infinite timelines.
Yes. The research has been published in Classical and Quantum Gravity. A version of this article was first published in September of 2020. So this is all very new as far as the general population is concerned.
Well, and the infinite universe theories is one of the solutions to this. I'm still a little iffy on that one.
I would hope so.
I'm on board. I fully am on board with infinite universes. Yep, there are hundreds of millions, bazillions, gazillions.
In one universe, my cup goes this way. In the next one, it goes this way because I did it differently in each iteration.
Yep, and in one universe, your name actually is Richie Rich instead of Richie Rich.
God forbid.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Pushed to the breaking point after constantly being taken to task without ever hearing a word of thanks for what it does around here, an overwhelmed and infuriated nation announced in February that it was trying, okay? Jesus Christ. A poll of the American populace revealed that 33% felt they were doing pretty damned well, thank you, while another 28% just wanted 2 freaking minutes without somebody breathing down their neck.
We're trying as hard as we can here. How about cutting some little slack for a change, huh? You know what? This is just bullshit. I do not need this shit.
Christ Almighty, sources added. God distanced himself from the entire right-wing fundamentalist Christian movement, saying that he did not believe pregnancies result from his divine will. The Almighty Father went on to dismiss capital punishment, gun rights, the anti-abortion movement, and the efforts of the Westboro Baptist Church, while adding that he and Christian conservatives, quote, no longer saw eye to eye on the majority of issues. And physicists discovered that the entirety of our known universe is actually the fictional setting of a cop show called Hard Case.
This is the Onion News Network.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Free Talk Live, the special Sci-Fi Sunday edition. And by sci-fi, I mean science fiction. No reference to the crappy cable channel that puts out crappy television, with the exception of the series known as The Expanse.
The Sci-Fi channel.
Which started on Sci-Fi, the channel. It was the best thing the Sci-Fi channel has ever done.
Hey.
Seriously.
Hey. Sharknado?
Firefly.
Oh, that wasn't on Sci-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
It may have eventually made it to Sci-Fi. It started on Fox.
Yeah. But the reason it was so good was because Sci-Fi itself did not produce it.
Right.
They paid another company to produce it for them, and then they sort of screwed themselves out of getting paid for the rebroadcast. And so they're like, well, we can't keep going. And so eventually it didn't have a home, and then Netflix picked it up and, of course, has kept it strong and steady since then. Was it Netflix? No, Amazon. Sorry, my bad. So anyway, yeah, they basically changed pimps. So
fair enough.
That's what syndication will do to you.
Yeah. At any rate, Bitcoin.com. We heard some news. Snoop Doge.
Apparently. breaking news. Unverified at this point.
Unverified, definitely.
Snoop Dogg has changed his name to Snoop Doge.
We have covered here.
I foresee a bright short-term future for Dogecoin.
We have covered here on Free Talk Live the celebrities that have taken up talking about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Gene Simmons of KISS is one of them that we've covered. A couple other ones were contained within that article. There's more who are continuing to talk about it and get into it and that type of a thing. So I'm glad about that. I think it's going to take that type of a thing to occur for, the regular people to die. It's still early times here in cryptocurrency.
Muggles.
So Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information neatly organized by your needs. There's no longer an excuse for ignorance of this important world-changing information. If you are knowledgeable about crypto, check out news.bitcoin.com, where you can get the latest headlines of all the news relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com. Stuff of the future, cryptocurrency is, in my opinion.
Stuff of the present for us, buddy.
I know. So you guys know I've only been in this area for not even 2 years now, year and a half, something like that. And I talked to some folks back out west or in the Midwest. So my friends are scattered around the globe, really. But when I talk to other people, like, well, yep, I've still got that, $100 in Bitcoin or whatever it is they put in a couple of years ago or a year before I left or whatever. Now it's, $400 or whatever it is. And they have had no opportunity to spend, trade, barter, other than online, right? Maybe going to Purse and getting something, off the Amazon or something like that at a nice discount. But they don't have the daily ability that we do here in New Hampshire, and that is pretty great. I tell them all the time, I live in the future because I can go down to the convenience store and buy a 6-pack of craft beer and pay with cryptocurrency. I can go out to dinner and pay with cryptocurrency. I can take my car to a shop and pay for the repairs in cryptocurrency, and that, to me, is living in the future.
Well, not to mention the fact that every time you look at your account, it seems to be at the same level. See, we're spending currency in the stimulus check / massive bribery, largest spending bill ever era.
See, that whole same level thing, that's a great selling point for people who are getting new into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a friend and he was gifted some Bitcoin for 5,000, a Bitcoin for $5,000. And then, Bitcoin went up to $6,000. He's like, this is great. I had $5,000 of Bitcoin, and then I bought a TV, and I still have $5,000 of Bitcoin.
Right.
And then it went up to $7,000, and I bought something else, and I still have $5,000. So as it rises, right, which it's, if you look at the chart, that's what it does over a long enough period of time. He always has the same amount of value in crypto, but has all these other items to go with it.
Right. When measured against the dollar, of course. Now we know here because we're into this we live in the future. We use it daily. We know that some of this is also the value of the dollar continuing to go down, right? What I used to be able to get in a shopping cart for $20 at the grocery store 30 years ago does not even compare to the tiny bit that I get for $20 today of the same grocery store.
Well, and it's strange because people are so accustomed to this that they think that that's just naturally how it goes. Well, of course things get more expensive over time. No, that's not reality. That is fabricated.
Example, televisions.
Right.
They seem to go up in technological advancements, but continue going down in price.
Right.
Okay, that is a good example for that, but it also demonstrates to some people that the dollar is not collapsing all that quick because technology usually outpaces the devaluation of the dollar, and that's why you get better technology cheaper. But that doesn't happen in all areas.
Now, this is one of the reasons that the economists I prefer don't pay attention so much to where the prices change, but to where the money supply itself changes. So normal economists, they only pay attention to, well, did the price rise? Well, then it counts as inflation of the currency. Now, the Austrians I like, they pay attention to, did you print more money? And here's why. Because if you have that higher technology that is, maybe it is outpacing the inflation of the money supply, well, guess what? Prices were going to go down. All these prices were about to plummet. We were about to be so much richer. But then they added all of this to the money supply, and now we're not richer when we would have been.
Right. And the reason, at least one of the main reasons, in my opinion, that technology outpaces inflation is because technology is one of the least government-regulated subsections of the industries that have ever existed. The internet, when the internet first came out, right? Because I'm older than the internet. It was just left to be, right? It was the Wild West, right? The first rule of the internet: don't put any of your personal information on the internet, right? I still follow that rule.
That's why we all had cool screen names.
That's why I'm still Captain Kickass, because that's where that came from, right? Nice. It started before that, and then the internet came on, and you needed a handle. I'm like, well, I guess I'll use this, and here I am still, right? So it affects your life in many different ways. But the internet was left alone largely, and still kind of is, for the most part, as far as development is concerned of technologies, by governments. Right now, governments, of course, like China, is going to regulate content distribution and what you can browse and all that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is that industry was left alone to sort of, gel and become a thing before governments started stepping and go, well, maybe we should do that and that and the other thing, right? So that's generally what happens with new technology. And when new technology is developed, governments don't know what to do with it. They don't know what kind of effect it's going to have. They don't know how to tax it, is really what I'm saying. And so if they don't know how to tax it, it's left alone. And so it will outpace everything until there's some tangible products and a customer base and a bunch of companies who, sort of evolve as the top 2 or 3 or 4 companies in that particular market of technology. So,
well, it very much reminds me of the response when Tesla was about to make free energy throughout the world. How am I supposed to put a meter on that?
Right.
So I want to go back to you real quick, because an interesting phenomenon came up some months ago during one of the bailouts, and my buddy was explaining it to me, and I was having difficulty understanding it. I eventually sort of got it, but he was like a month or two ahead of the curve, because like 2 months later, Mises put out an article that basically confirmed what he was predicting.
Nice.
And that was an increase in the money supply, which you would expect inflationary results.
Right.
But what the actual result was being predicted at that time was deflationary, decreases in prices across the board. And the reason given to me for that, generally speaking, find the article, because I'm going to do a poor job of communicating this because I don't understand it completely, is that the increase in the money supply was then being used to pay down debt. So it wasn't actually going to circulate into the consumer economy, which is when you would see prices on consumer goods rise. So it was like we're printing all this money and then wiping out debt, so you don't see those inflationary results at the supermarket, so to speak.
That kind of makes sense from a cursory perspective.
It slows it down, but it certainly doesn't keep it out, because, if I pay off my debt, guess what? Someone at the bank gets a bonus. He has extra money. Where do you think that money is going to go? Well, it's going to go somewhere.
They're going to go lend it out again.
Exactly.
Yes. But they weren't, because then it was being paid back to the Federal Reserve, who was just clearing it off the books.
Oh, when it gets paid back to the Federal Reserve, that can do it.
603-283-6160. During hour number 2, SpaceX announces first all-civilian mission to space. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power. But there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A strong rebuke from her home state. I'm Pam Huso, Fox News. The Republican Party in Wyoming has voted overwhelmingly to censure Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who voted to impeach former President Trump for allegedly inciting the riot at the Capitol. Cheney, who stands by her decision, appeared on Fox News Sunday.
The oath that I took to the Constitution compelled me to vote for impeachment, and it doesn't bend to partisanship. It doesn't bend to political pressure.
The former president's second impeachment trial begins this week. More stimulus money from millions of Americans could be approved in weeks as Democrats press ahead with President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief plan. The package wouldn't need Republican support, but it appears not all Democrats are on the same page.
The new chairman of the Budget Committee, an independent Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, taking Democrats to task, tweeting, "Unbelievable. There are some Dems who want to lower the income eligibility for direct payments from $75,000 to $50,000 for individuals and $150,000 to $100,000 for couples. In other words, working class people who got checks from Trump would not get them from Biden. Brilliant."
Fox's David Spunt. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the risk that the stimulus plan could cause inflation has to be considered, but she believes the most important risk is not doing enough. The police chief in Wichita, Kansas, calls the death of a teenage girl one of the saddest cases he's been associated with. The 13-year-old died yesterday after being dragged several miles by her family's SUV after it was stolen from a restaurant. Authorities say Kevin Palmer jumped in the driver's seat and took off. The girl, who was in the back, tried to jump out but got caught in the seatbelt. Palmer is charged with murder. America's listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Thousands of students in Chicago still don't know if they'll be heading to the classroom tomorrow. Last night, a joint statement was issued by the mayor and the CEO of Chicago Public Schools. They say negotiations on a comprehensive agreement to reopen schools continue. Senate Republican Rand Paul believes it's critical that students get back to in-person learning.
There's already talk of increased numbers of suicide, isolation, but most parents just aren't capable of teaching. Some are extraordinary teachers, but a lot of parents aren't.
Teachers' unions have argued they need more assurances about coronavirus safety and vaccines. Schools in Israel remain closed, but after 6 weeks of lockdown, virus restrictions are starting to ease there. Some businesses reopened today, and people can now travel more than half a mile from their homes. It's game day in Tampa, Florida, where 2 NFL quarterbacks will be the ones to watch.
Much of the hype leading up to tonight's Super Bowl showdown has surrounded Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs and Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady at age 43, set to be the oldest player to ever compete in a Super Bowl. The QB looking for his 7th career ring and his 10th appearance all time in the big game.
This whole time has been really hardcore prep, and now we ultimately have to be confident what we're doing and go out there and get the job done.
Meantime, Patrick Mahomes is looking to join Brady as the only other quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls in his first 4 seasons.
That's a huge deal, and we're going to try to really not take any day for granted and prepare ourselves to be the best that we can be.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm gonna tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at MPP.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A Colorado man reminisced Monday about a simpler time when he only masturbated to still images on the internet. 36-year-old Timothy Barchuk, who now says he requires multiple streaming hardcore videos just to get excited, willfully reflected on the days of waiting for slowly loading images of naked women to appear.
Look at this picture of Phoebe Cates. Sure, you can pull it up in 2 seconds now. Back in the old days, you'd have to wait for it to materialize on your screen pixel by pixel. It's not about her tits, which are nice, but it's about waiting for them. Nowadays, you could pull up 8 different videos of anal sex at once. Who cares?
In local news, the person who will one day become the warlord ruler of what was once Nebraska is born in an Omaha hospital. And in other news, a man and woman get drunk and blow $30,000 in one night. A lonely college student calls up his mom to talk about Harold and Kumar, and another dead body is tossed on a heap somewhere. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is hour number 2 of Free Talk Live.
On this timeline.
On this timeline, in this universe. If the universe even exists.
If you go back in time a day, there were 2-hour tubes somehow.
That's a fact. If you'd like to experience what is 3 hours but could possibly only be 2 hours of Free Talk Live, listen to yesterday's show.
Oh, I was going to say download the podcast.
603-283-6160 is the number if you'd like to join the conversation here on Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And we teased during the end of the last segment about this announcement by SpaceX, whom we all know is Elon Doji Musk's.
Well, before you get into the SpaceX, I think Peakless, didn't you say you wanted to touch on the
I did have a couple of
time?
Yeah, a couple of quick notes on that
I totally spaced out on the Peakless final point, man.
I got your back, Doug.
Thank you. So one of the things I wanted to point out is that article seems to be pointing, like you were mentioning, well, in movie terms, I think this one would be a lot more like Terminator. So, like Terminator 1, they do the thing, and it was Terminator 2, right? So, like, all right, now we've melted down the chip that becomes Skynet, and we had to melt down the Terminator because he's got the chip, and we don't want that to become Skynet. And then in Terminator 3, it's like, no, you just pushed it off.
Yeah,
right. But
so
by
I thought
Terminator,
that was kind of similar.
By Terminator 5, though, it's just an infinite regress. they sent him back to kill the one that killed the one that killed the one. And they're going to send him back one more time for Terminator 19.
There's another series of movies that does that, but it's not about time travel. It's the, The Bourne Redundancy?
Well, and one of the things that I definitely wanted to, I got to give a shout out to. This is actually a lot more like Doctor Who.
Yes,
where there are certain fixed points in time because they are so monumental as changes. Where okay, you can't go back and prevent the Mount Vesuvius explosion,
right?
It's where we got our word volcano, and it's how we knew about this civilization and all of that, and you just can't stop it. And if you try to stop it, it won't work.
Right.
And you might end up actually causing the thing by trying to stop it.
But casually traveling around and taking somebody with you to see certain points in space and time, walking about, stepping on a blade of grass, that stuff is all inconsequential,
right?
At least within that television series, Doctor Who, and the books and the radio programs of the same.
Which does seem to suit the sort of self-healing time thing.
Right.
I get it, but when you think about going back in time, preventing it maybe, right? Like if you reach out to catch the vial from falling, you may bobble and drop it, and the virus gets out anyway, right? Mm-hmm. But knowing that information and knowing you're a time traveler, you go back and you put a mitt on, right? Or you find a way to remedy that situation. And as a time traveler, you can do that an infinite number of times until you potentially get it right, right?
Well, unless you never get it right, because there's two possibilities. Number one, it shifts ever so slightly, I put the mitt on, but this time the floor was a little bit slipperier, or all right, yeah. Well, I got non-stick shoes, but this time there was a little rock there that I tripped over.
Right.
Or it might just be that, all right, well, you stopped the virus from spreading in this location, but there happened to be someone doing the exact same experiment over in this lab over here, yep. And they end up dropping the vial.
Or because now you've been able to travel back in time to attempt to change something, how about somebody else is traveling back in time to attempt to stop you and your time travel from changing the thing?
Well, that's the Terminator thing. The infinite regress of, we're going to go back in time and fix it. We're going to go back in time and fix it.
But no, I'm saying in addition to you traveling back in time, now somebody else travels back in time to stop you.
Yeah.
Well, and that might actually be how it goes because, so it's called a closed timeline curve, right? Yeah. So a closed timeline curve means that you get back to the original point. So you basically sort of create a little pocket universe, but that pocket universe, even though the events are slightly different, still ends up with everything being in exactly the same spot as it was when you created this thing. Now, that's different from the open timeline curve, which is more of your Back to the Future scenario.
Yeah.
Well, they had multiple timelines, too, because they forked it when Biff stole the book.
Mm-hmm. And that was one
thing
I did.
We can't go to this new future, Marty. We have to go back to the past and prevent him from getting the book.
And one quick thing that I really have to mention, a little shout out to Heinlein, his
Robert?
book, his book, The Number of the Beast, points out the possibility of there being sort of different dimensions of time. So instead of just backward and forward on this one timeline, you could be switching two alternate timelines.
Right.
And
like jumping the tracks.
Right, exactly. So you can shift to one that's really close to this timeline and everything's going to be incredibly similar.
Right, there's been plenty of science fiction television or movies that have done that where they think they're going back to where they started, but when in fact they go back to a place that is incredibly similar to where they started, except for like one or two things.
Right. Jet Li's the one.
Yes. All right, so continuing on Science Fiction Sunday, SpaceX, that would be the muskrat Elon.
SpaceX?
SpaceX. It's so you have an X, right? And if you could just launch her into space, this is what you would do. SpaceX.
To the moon with you.
No. SpaceX,
Bang,
the organization,
right to the moon,
says it announces first all-civilian mission to space. So no government goons, no NASA people, apparently.
That's kind of scary.
I'm not sure.
My first question is, who's going to pilot it?
Right.
Better pilots?
However, it does say 3 seats will be donated. So we've seen this in a science fiction program before where, you sort of enter the lottery for who gets to go into space, and then somebody gets chosen, right? Elon Musk.
Little did you know you were actually a clone and they're harvesting your organs.
Stop cloning around. Elon Musk's SpaceX is planning to send its first all-civilian crew to space at the end of 2021 in a charity-focused mission commanded by tech entrepreneur Jared Isaacman. I've never heard of this guy.
And also, a woman.
Also, Jared Isaacman. That's a weird last name.
Well, yeah, and it being all civilian just means there's no military people. So you can certainly have a trained pilot
I'm
that
sure
just
they'll
isn't...
I'm sure they'll have some NASA presence there.
I understand that, but NASA typically recruits their pilots from the Air Force, right? You're not getting a United pilot piloting the space shuttle.
Well, let's see if the article sheds any light.
Okay, let's.
The company said in a press release it'll pick 3 people to ride alongside Isaacman to orbit aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule. Isaacman, a trained pilot and the chief executive of Shift4 Payments, that's the name of his company, said he donated $100 million to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and wants to help raise $200 million more by inviting people to donate at least $10 to St. Jude for a chance to get picked. So if you want to get picked to be a civilian on this ride, one of the 3 donated seats, then you must yourself donate to St. Jude's, apparently.
Well, Captain, you remember yesterday when we were briefly discussing how we don't get the new iPhone until after some people have tried out the bugs, and we were discussing this in reference to the new vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes double for space travel.
Yeah, I'll let a bunch of other people go first and make sure that all the bad stuff that can happen, is not going to happen to me.
I don't know if my wife would appreciate it, but as a child, I've always wanted to be like one of the first people on Mars.
Really?
Never pursued it as a career or a profession, but given the opportunity, like, hey, we're going to put you on the first flight to Mars. Count me in.
Oh.
Suicide mission, whatever, but I get to see it first. And
yes, but my bloated corpse will be on the moon.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like,
So,
I would die on Mars.
Will you or will you not donate $10 to St. Jude for a chance to be on this flight?
Knowing that, I may.
Okay, all right.
Talk it over with the wife. There's other people involved all of a sudden.
I mean, if money's a problem, I'll spot you half.
Okay. No, it's not about the money. It's about.
I'm just saying in case it is with the wife.
It's about upsetting. Oh yeah, okay. I'll let you buy the whole thing then.
Well, I
mean you don't want to spring another. Hey, honey.
I'm not as rich as Richie Rich might be rich. So
like
I got
Elon,
half.
like Elon says, I wouldn't mind dying on Mars, just not on impact.
603-283-6160. Would you fly into space?
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Nerd Talk Live. I mean, Free Talk Live.
You might get some callers now because apparently it's halftime of that other thing that's going on.
Halftime? Oh, are you talking about the Superb Owl?
I don't know who's watching that nonsense, but
in our chat room, somebody mentioned earlier that they were having a Superb Owl get-together and that there was chili.
Social distance.
And that social distancing wasn't necessarily being observed.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which, I mean, duh.
There's a whole bunch of libertarians in trouble for that locally here.
Yeah. Well, you know,
gathering.
Los Angeles County prohibited restaurants and bars from having TVs on during the Super Bowl because they were afraid that it would become a super spreader event. Furthermore, they even decided to tell people that they couldn't cheer and yell.
Can you go back in time and just, watch it then? Or can or just turn on the radio? Everyone huddle around the radio and listen to the game like the good old days.
Do the folks on the space station observe social distancing?
Probably.
Because that's an enclosed space, man.
That would be interesting if one of them got it. The first report of COVID on the space station. Better than leprechauns in
Wonder
space.
if it's already happened.
603-283-6160 is our telephone number if you'd like to join this lively discussion. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We're talking about this article from The Verge, which says SpaceX announces first all-civilian mission to space, and in fact, they're going to donate 3 seats on this particular space mission to people who donate at least $10 to St. Jude. 3 people will be chosen to represent the mission pillars of leadership, hope, generosity, and prosperity, according to a press release. Though one person was already picked, Isaacman said during a press call on Monday, the full crew will be announced in the weeks ahead. This is an important milestone towards enabling access to space for everyone, Musk told reporters on the call, adding that it's a part of SpaceX's broader goal to bring the cost down over time and make space accessible to all.
With as many government handouts as possible.
Well, I don't, is it going to get done any other way?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but St. Jude is the saint of lost causes, right? Now,
is that irony or just humor?
I mean, I'll tell you what, if I got a seat on a space mission because I contributed to the Saint of Lost Causes, I would think I was being in a sort of badly written sci-fi novel.
Why are they such a good children's hospital then?
Yeah, it's specifically St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, specifically. Not just, like a person named St. Jude.
Screw them. They're a lost cause.
Well,
name a hospital after him.
Now, that would be sci-fi if we got a way to actually send St. Jude modern money. With our newfangled time machine.
Hey, St. Jude, here's some Bitcoin. Figure that one out.
The mission, which is named Inspiration 4, that's the word inspiration with the number 4 at the end of it with no space. I don't know why that's important, but it makes me think, what happened to Inspiration 1, 2, and 3?
Crashed on impact.
Sound like lost causes.
It will launch from SpaceX's 39A launch site at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, atop the company's Falcon 9 rocket. Prior to flight, crew members will get special training from SpaceX with a specific focus on orbital mechanics, operating in microgravity, zero gravity, and other forms of stress testing. The 4-person crew will spend up to 5 days in the acorn-shaped Crew Dragon capsule as it orbits Earth every 90 minutes along a customized flight path. SpaceX and the contest's official rules said.
No blowing your nose in space, Captain.
What happens if you I have all sorts of questions about, what if you get the runs in space? How do you handle that?
Swim to the bathroom?
Then they're actually the floats.
I guess they would be the floats, right? If you're gonna, I used to work in an office environment with a bunch of dudes, and every now and again somebody would crop dust you, if you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying.
The flatulence would waft.
I love doing that at the gym.
In your direction.
Clears it out.
How does that work in space? Does the cloud of flatulence just sort of float around until you crash into it?
I mean, there's an air filter somewhere.
Does it smell?
Hypothetically, your fart would just stay up there forever. It would just stick to the walls
out
for all eternity.
Eternal flatulence. The mission parameters are up to Jared, Musk said.
From Subway?
No, the guy from
how did he get in charge?
The jewelry company.
Oh, okay.
He went to Jared. The mission could last anywhere from 2 to 4 days long, but if you want to stay up longer, that's fine too, he added.
Forever.
Musk and Isaacman.
If you want to stay up longer, that's fine too. Okay, Dad. I know it's past my bedtime.
It's the Viagra of space travel.
Musk and Isaacman offered scant details on the kind of training the crew.
And if you don't want to stay up longer, too bad.
If you're in space for more than 4 hours.
A 4-hour mission.
A 4-hour tour.
A 4-hour tour.
Pack light.
We are all going to know each other incredibly well long before we ever strapped into the Dragon. I can promise you that, Isaacman said. So are they saying that these trainees, these selected people to go on this mission would not be observing social distancing during their training to go on this particular mission?
Okay, so the whole social distancing thing can be mitigated with proper quarantining, right? Like, you don't always have to
Not according to the law.
Well, if it fits in Florida, they've surpassed all that already, right? Like, Florida's pretty wide open from my understanding at this point. But the likelihood is, if you're going to be together for that long a period of time, you take the test, you quarantine for 2 weeks, you get tested again, you get the all clear, right? And then you can operate with all those people that have also gotten the all clear.
I can tell you, because we've mentioned the superb owl, that folks in the NFL, that is the players, and the coaches and all of the staff have been getting tested daily, sometimes twice daily.
Yeah.
Even if they've done all of the things you just mentioned. So there have been people who have been working in groups of people together without observing social distancing, but there still have been people who have needed to be like pulled out of that and quarantined, and players couldn't play. And all
but if they're
that
testing daily, but outside of the testing day, right, they're still interacting with each other, you're going to be at risk for an outbreak. Right, but if you quarantine for whatever they say, the necessary length of time is for the virus to come and go naturally, then you can interact
Just 2
with
weeks.
them. Just 2 weeks. So
quarantine for 2 weeks.
Right. I understand that, but you're going to go out. You're going to go out into space with 5 or 6 other people.
Okay, so now let's just say that this happens, and they get this crew of 5 people, or whatever it is, and they go into space, and one of them actually has it. Right, it's just a dormant, because there's now 4,000 versions of the COVID. Now, if you didn't listen to the show last night, they're saying now there's 4,000 different mutations of COVID. So let's just say one of them has it, and they go into space. Now they've got space COVID.
Yeah, well then they'll kill all the aliens because the aliens haven't built up an immunity.
No, COVID will mutate the humans into a new super race of unknown beings known as the COVIDians.
The COVID Inhumans. 2001, A Space Odyssey.
That's right. Sci-Fi Sunday here on Free Talk Live.
Sure. I'm just saying there's ways to mitigate that whole super spreader event should they choose to.
Perhaps the aliens would be wearing masks as well.
Or breathing from their back hole.
603-283-6160 is the number. Join us. Give us a call. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Well, put down your dinner and turn up the radio. It's Free Talk Live. That's right, 603-283-6160 is our telephone number. This is the live call-in radio talk program where you could take control of the airwaves to talk about, well, whatever's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about all sorts of fun stuff. But I also wanted to tell you that Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. Do you want the newest and freshest stories and perspective on current events from those who value liberty? Liberty? Let me spit that. Liberty. I sound like a frog. Liberty.
Ice froggy frog?
FreedomsPhoenix.com has it. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty views, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. Freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. Go there now. Or, maybe when this segment's over.
Now, speaking of sci-fi, I know about Freedom's Phoenix through Ernie Hancock. Now, there's a man who talks about some sci-fi stuff that may be in our near future.
Oh, definitely. And interestingly enough, one of my favorite, I'll call it near-term sci-fi programs, is Black Mirror. I believe you guys are familiar with this. Charlie Brooker, the creator of that program, when asked, as soon as the COVID thing hit hard and heavy and the lockdown started happening and government started going nuts with all their, overzealous demands and dictates and that kind of stuff. Said, so what's the plan for Black Mirror? Is there going to be a new season now? And he's like, no, I don't think I'm going to make any more of those because I could not make anything more dystopian than what we're currently experiencing.
He's got a point.
There's a lot of interesting, not too well-reviewed movies coming out that were made during the lockdown.
Yeah.
So they were figuring out a way to do stuff.
I mean, necessity, the mother of invention, right? Yeah. So, we've seen all sorts of attempts at innovation, particularly along the lines of entertainment. I, for one, am livid that folks have just sort of stood by and taken it with regards to live performances. I'm speaking specifically of concerts, but you could extend that to, Broadway plays, theater, musicals, any kind of thing like that,
comedy
orchestral
shows.
Performances, stand-up comedy. There's some of that going on, but we've seen the socially distanced outdoor movie theater comedy show, and that was, we saw Jim Breuer, he was hilarious, but the whole venue and the way they had police bossing you around, it was just lame. It sucked. We saw I'm trying to remember the name of the band, but they put on a show where not only were the band members in bubbles, but so were the audience. Every audience member had to be in their own
band members were in bubbles?
Yes, correct.
So, was it a bubble large enough for you to hold your guitar?
Yes, from the picture. That's how it was.
I think someone, maybe it was you, Captain, put a picture on social media of musicians playing their instruments through bags.
Yes.
And stuff.
Yes.
Oh, like the hug thing.
The saxophone condom.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
like that.
It's a big
That's a good way to put it.
saxophone, like it looks like a cloth thing with a zipper, but it's got like a hand thing. It's kind of like the baby incubators where you can like put your hand into a thing that's shaped like a glove, so you can
Right.
like hit
The
the
Waldo.
buttons on your saxophone. But the top
And
of
the
it,
mouthpiece.
the top of it has a little thing with the mouthpiece, and so then they're wearing the masks, but the masks have the holes cut out in them, which is like defeating the entire purpose of the mask in the first frickin' place.
There's a lot of things that defeat the purpose of the mask all the way around this whole nonsense.
Now, are you wearing a mask on your mask?
Must you mask
And
the mask?
where is your eye protection?
Yeah. PPE, remember? Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got Hank calling from Florida. Hank, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, calling from the Free State. Yeah, we're open and having a good time tonight. Everybody's
It's a little depressing that Florida
socially
gets to make that
distancing,
claim
maybe
over New
about
Hampshire.
everything's going as normal in Florida. I feel for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I called mostly tonight to talk about SpaceX.
Okay.
And yeah, the great opportunity to go to space. It's the SpaceX capsule does not require a pilot. It flies autonomously.
Oh, it does.
It flies to the space station regularly without a pilot.
That's a little disconcerting because I've seen videos of Teslas crashing on auto. No. We got the Tesla technology in the
artificial
SpaceX
intelligence
shuttle.
Continuously advancing, and that's the great part about it. And SpaceX is at the forefront of advancing space technology, along with Tesla cars and Neuralink and several other things. It's a great time we live in, and this is a great country. Aside from our government and the things they like to impose on us, they do allow us freedoms. They allow Elon Musk the freedom to.
That's not how freedom works.
Yeah, no, Elon Musk has enough money to purchase his freedom, unlike you or me.
Yeah, but he's self-made. He started out with nothing. He did not inherit his money. He went out and worked for it. He went out and educated himself. He created several great companies.
I'm pretty sure that's only partially correct. Like I think his
he started
parents
with
were
eBay,
well off.
PayPal and eBay. Look up Elon Musk.
No,
Study
that's what I'm
up on him.
saying. No, I understand that he had some great companies, but my general understanding was that he started with money because his parents were of wealth in South Africa, and then he made some money, then lost it all, and then made it back.
He may
again.
not have been poor to start with, but at the same time,
Right.
he created a video game at like age 14 and sold it to make his own money.
Right.
He has been a very driven person, and he has strived, and only in America can somebody do that. You'll never see
I mean, I don't know. There's tech companies all over the world, man.
Yeah.
A Bill Gates. No, these people are not created all over the world.
Well, there's
only in America do we have Bill Gates, do we have Elon Musk, do we have Jeff Bezos, do we have
I think
all
part
the
of that's an
guys at
American bias because you
Facebook?
don't see what's happening.
Have you ever heard of Jack Ma?
Yeah, okay, that's a good example because
there's
Alibaba
there's
got
a
nationalized.
rare example in some other countries, but for the most part, the great technologies, the great people, the billionaires that are self-made, all the Zuckerbergs, everybody is it's mostly done in America.
Do you know anything about anywhere else except America?
Yeah, I'll study up. I keep up on technology. I know of no other big companies that are even nothing like SpaceX. He's done what no other country has been able to do.
Well, that's
Land
because he's
rockets
a
back on
person and a business, not a country, right? So
Yeah,
Right. I hear the caller's
he's
point.
allowed to do that in the country
I
of
hear
America.
his point too, but it's certainly colored with all sorts of magic
You'll never get away
skycloth
with doing
patriotism.
that in another country.
Understood. But like your Jack Ma example, right? Jack Ma, self-made billionaire in China, got too popular, got his company taken away from him and nationalized.
Right.
Right? So like
But that won't happen in America.
that may not happen. That may not happen the same way. in America.
We have our own special versions of doing things. So if you look at, you brought up Bill Gates. So for the longest time, Bill Gates just kept to himself and, made himself a nice little billionaire. And then all of a sudden he starts getting this massive threat that his company is going to be split in half. oh, well, we've got to use this antitrust against you. And then all of a sudden he starts donating massive quantities of money into the political arena, and that just goes away. So, I mean,
sometimes when guys start out with nothing and they create such a huge company, they have to squash a lot of the competition. It's just competitiveness.
Well, if you squash the
dog in the
competition
business
fairly,
world.
it's one thing. If you use
If
the
you don't
government to
own
do it,
them-
it's a different thing.
Yeah, but since then, it's allowed the freedom of Google and Android and other competitive systems, Lynx, Apple. Nobody could compete with Bill Gates before the government started cracking down on him. I'm sorry.
Thanks for the call, Hank. We appreciate you. Yeah, the caller has a point. I don't like his tone.
Well, because it discounts that there are wealthy
the
people
wrong
doing
tone.
things in their own country that we just don't hear about because our glasses are colored with red, white, and blue.
Indeed, they are 603-283-6160. Do all the good people live in America?
Free Talk Live.
There's been all kinds of immigrants coming from all kinds of places, living in little enclaves, speaking their native tongue. Their kids, they learn English, and then their kids, they all don't even know their native tongue.
Right.
So see,
That's what's
Trish,
gonna happen.
what he's explaining to you, Trish, is that this is a natural process. When you let people come here, they naturally want to learn English.
What kind of law breaking to put our lives
Wait,
in danger?
what lawbreaking are you talking about, Trish?
Sir, do you understand?
What
in
law
some
breaking are you
neighborhoods,
referring
people
to,
can't
Trish?
leave their dogs out because these people will eat them. Do you
outrageous.
We forgot the part. It was just lepers, and now it's murdering, raping, dog-eating
leopards. Amazing. I mean, what else can you say to this?
It's just
This is outrageous.
Trish, you are putting the J in jingoist.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yeah. That's right. The answer is yes. If the question is this Free Talk Live? Then yes, indeed it is.
Who is Tony?
Never trust a man with two first names.
Feels good.
Our telephone number here at Free Talk Live is 603-283-6160 if you would like to call and get in on the conversation this evening. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about this SpaceX mission.
But before you get into that article, I think, Peakless, you wanted to say something more on time travel?
Yes, actually.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Well, since there's since certain forms of quantum theory indicate that there's actually 12 different dimensions.
You know what we should have done?
Then you would probably have several of those being time.
We should have just played back the previous hour at the top of this hour where we went into the bit about time travel. That would have been fun.
Stay tuned for hour 4.
Okay. I could have waited one more break for that joke. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's good. I've
Proceed with your SpaceX.
I've seen a comedian do that where he gets on stage and he starts talking about the theory of quantum mechanics, and which means space travel is totally possible. And then he runs off stage and he comes back on and he starts the bit over again. And every time it just gets a little more distorted than the last. He starts changing little things here and there, but it's otherwise the exact same routine. It's pretty hilarious.
I think I know what you're talking about. Is it a duo?
No, it's just one dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So at any rate, SpaceX apparently is launching an all-civilian mission to space. You could potentially be on this mission if you donate at least $10 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
What a lost cause of a donation that would be.
Crew members, however, must be, and so I'm disqualified, physically and psychologically fit for training.
Booyah!
Don't flex on me, bro.
All right.
Is that what the B on your shirt is for, bro?
Of course.
Bruh.
It's my Bitcoin
BRUH?
shirt.
Bruh. I'm flexing on you, bruh.
It's my Bitcoin.com shirt.
You have to also be under 6'6" for some reason.
To fit in the space shuttle?
Probably. Yes. And you must weigh less than 250 pounds per the fundraiser's official rules.
I think I'm in.
A person who's able to ride the Incredible Hulk roller coaster in Florida would be a perfect fit, speaking of flexing. If the mission gets delayed past 2022, crew members will each get an alternate prize of $150,000, the fine print added. So, if something goes awry, you get some cash.
Now, that's an interesting bet. $10 to potentially win $150,000?
And or the first civilian space trip.
Yeah. I think the $150,000 is more likely with that close of a deadline.
I guess. But at the same time, if you were on the first civilian space mission, would you make more than $150,000 in things like interviews and writing a book about it and all that kind of stuff?
Endorsements.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, right. You could go up into space with a whole space suit with patches of sponsors and stuff, right?
Just put on my NASCAR shirt.
That's right. Yeah. Like politicians should have.
Yeah.
SpaceX has launched 2 crews to space already, but those were with trained NASA astronauts, including one astronaut from Japan's space agency, on government-funded trips to the International Space Station. The Inspiration 4 mission marks SpaceX's latest private astronaut mission to be announced. The company's AX-1 mission, also planned for the end of 2021, hosts a crew of 4 private astronauts paying $55 million each for an 8-day trip to the ISS. And in 2018, Elon Musk announced Japanese billionaire Yusaku, I'm going to butcher his name, Maezawa, will hitch a ride around the moon on SpaceX's new rocket system Starship, which is in development. SpaceX developed its Crew Dragon capsule with a more than $2 billion contract under NASA's Commercial Crew Program. So that sounds like government money to me.
Sounds like taxpayer funded to me.
Yep. The agency's initiative to spur spacecraft development. Kathy Luders, who led the Crew program and is currently NASA's human spaceflight chief, tweeted after the Inspiration 4 reveal on Monday, she was, quote, excited to see one of the original goals of a commercial crew come to be with the expansion of new commercial activities beyond our own low Earth orbit. Isaacman told reporters the mission kicks off the biggest fundraiser ever for St. Jude, a children's hospital with an already massive fundraising reach. If we're going to continue making advances up there in space, then we have an obligation to do the same down here on Earth, he said. Aww.
It's an interesting partnership with St. Jude's because entirely unrelated to space, but at the same time, St. Jude's is not a bad cause to donate to begin with. So
yeah. I can't fault the cause. I mean, really, any charity organization.
Well, not any.
No, not any, but like
there are some bad ones.
A lot of charity organizations would be worth, this type of a fundraising activity. So I can't argue with St. Jude's at all.
Yeah.
I can, however, argue with the $2 billion coming from NASA.
I can think of worse places for that money to go, though.
Private space mission, my ass.
That's true. Oh, it's private. It's private. Yeah, totally private.
Yeah. Well, does the government claim a monopoly on space?
Yes.
They do, actually, because apparently if you take a photo from orbit, the government claims to own the copyright of that photo.
Interesting.
Yeah. I had an article on that. I think we briefly talked about it here on Free Talk
How
Live,
would they do
maybe
that?
last year.
If you're floating over like Japan, right?
Well,
how does the U.S. claim jurisdiction?
It was one of the
same. I think it's the same way that they claim jurisdiction if you happen to be, say, an Australian citizen that publishes papers they don't want you to, and they charge you with treason against a different country.
Yeah. So they have all the guns, Richie Rich. So
gotcha.
If they point them at you and say, we claim jurisdiction, well, then they've just claimed it. That's
okay.
How. So,
I mean, that's one of the reasons why the mission to Mars is a little exciting, right? Because Elon has already said that, no, private jurisdiction up there. I get to Mars first. Mars is mine. And then, no earthly government.
Is he going to homestead Mars?
I think he's going to be the first one up there. So yeah, I think that's the plan. I would consider it a legitimate homestead in some aspect of it. Maybe not the whole planet. Once more people start coming up there.
Could the moon be homesteaded?
Why not?
Well, I'm just asking because you were talking about going to Mars first.
You mean morally and ethically? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you mix your labor with moon rocks, you own them moon rocks.
Right,
Yeah.
but
I don't think America owns the moon because they planted the flag. If that's
okay.
Like if that's the case, then like the next thing we want to do is figure out unmanned things that we can just launch into space for flag planting. Like, all right, aim this one at Pluto.
Well,
all right, Pluto's mine now.
Much like seasteading, space steading, right, could be a thing
Yeah.
where humans develop livable pods that can float around in orbit, right, low Earth orbit, even high Earth orbit. Right. And, you can connect pods together and create little, communities just like seasteaders would that are autonomous.
He brought up Ernie Hancock earlier. Check out his site because that's his plan somewhat.
Yeah, it's what are we? We're only 64 miles from freedom, I think it was, because internationally they have agreed that all of their jurisdiction stops at 100 kilometers up.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And the Sergey Brin from Google is like building a spacecraft of some kind just to go up that high.
far. Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun note. So they
I think it was
recently
Sergey.
figured out how to do superconductors without supercooling them. So for anyone out there, lots of you, I'm sure, who have no idea what a superconductor is. So one of the neat properties is that you can basically make a magnet hover over a superconductor, or vice versa. If you've got a magnet, you can make a superconductor hover over it. And it used to be that you had to have like liquid nitrogen and a certain particular substance in order to make one of these things. But they've recently figured out how to do it at room temperature. So hypothetically, maybe there is actually a way to get a spaceship, essentially, that would use the Earth's magnetic field and these room temperature superconductors to essentially reach orbit.
I just thought a superconductor was like a really buff guy, maybe on steroids, wearing like a tuxedo thing, standing in front of an orchestra.
What are you doing on my
Just
train?
the cape. Just the orchestra with the cape.
Just the cape. He's got the stick.
Super.
What do they call it? The conductor's wand?
Sure.
Yeah.
Not the musician here.
Superconductor.
Superconductor.
How come there's not a metal band named Superconductor? There probably is. I just haven't Googled it.
Because Apple's already got the trademark on the name.
Right, yeah. Cease and desist. You and your crappy metal music must never see the light of day.
Norwegian death metal.
I don't wish death on any Norwegians. Come on.
Okay.
The number 603-283-6160 if you would like to join us here in the studio.
Are all the good people in Norwegia?
Coming up, we'll talk about Homo Robocampus. That's right. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A strong rebuke from her home state. I'm Pam Huso, Fox News. The Republican Party in Wyoming has voted overwhelmingly to censure Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who voted to impeach former President Trump for allegedly inciting the riot at the Capitol. Cheney, who stands by her decision, appeared on Fox News Sunday.
The oath that I took to the Constitution compelled me to vote for impeachment, and it doesn't bend to partisanship. It doesn't bend to political pressure.
The former president's second impeachment trial begins this week. More stimulus money from millions of Americans could be approved in weeks as Democrats press ahead with President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief plan. The package wouldn't need Republican support, but it appears not all Democrats are on the same page.
The new chairman of the Budget Committee, an independent Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, taking Democrats to task, tweeting, "Unbelievable. There are some Dems who want to lower the income eligibility for direct payments from $75,000 to $50,000 for individuals and $150,000 to $100,000 for couples. In other words, working class people who got checks from Trump would not get them from Biden. Brilliant."
Fox's David Spunt. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the risk that the stimulus plan could cause inflation has to be considered, but she believes the most important risk is not doing enough. The police chief in Wichita, Kansas, calls the death of a teenage girl one of the saddest cases he's been associated with. The 13-year-old died yesterday after being dragged several miles by her family's SUV after it was stolen from a restaurant. Authorities say Kevin Palmer jumped in the driver's seat and took off. The girl, who was in the back, tried to jump out but got caught in the seatbelt. Palmer is charged with murder. America's listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Thousands of students in Chicago still don't know if they'll be heading to the classroom tomorrow. Last night, a joint statement was issued by the mayor and the CEO of Chicago Public Schools. They say negotiations on a comprehensive agreement to reopen schools continue. Senate Republican Rand Paul believes it's critical that students get back to in-person learning.
There's already talk of increased numbers of suicide, isolation, but most parents just aren't capable of teaching. Some are extraordinary teachers, but a lot of parents aren't.
Teachers' unions have argued they need more assurances about coronavirus safety and vaccines. Schools in Israel remain closed, but after 6 weeks of lockdown, virus restrictions are starting to ease there. Some businesses reopened today, and people can now travel more than half a mile from their homes. It's game day in Tampa, Florida, where 2 NFL quarterbacks will be the ones to watch.
Much of the hype leading up to tonight's Super Bowl showdown has surrounded Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs and Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady at age 43, set to be the oldest player to ever compete in a Super Bowl. The QB looking for his 7th career ring and his 10th appearance all time in the big game.
This whole time it's been really hardcore prep, and now we ultimately have to be confident what we're doing and go out there and get the job done.
Meantime, Patrick Mahomes is looking to join Brady as the only other quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls in his first 4 seasons.
That's a huge deal, and we're going to try to really not take any day for granted and prepare ourselves to be the best that we can be.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
A scary day in Virginia after a mass shooting at the offices of Slash Forward Marketing. Management described the violent scene as incredibly inopportune if the company wants to hit its sales goals.
Gunshots were first heard around 9:40 a.m. VP of Sales Ken Miller placed the first 911 call.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello? Someone is shooting everyone at our office. Can you guys do something about this? We really can't afford to lose focus right now.
The alleged shooter, Brian Henderson, a Slash Forward employee, was described by Miller as a so-so salesman and a, quote, candy ass who obviously couldn't howl with the big dogs. Slash Forward management said the company is rattled to the core by this poorly timed shooting.
It was horrible, really. But hashtag Pray for Slash Forward is trending, and we are getting tons of media exposure, so I think we're going to survive.
Donations for the families of victims are pouring into the company website, as are applications for the 18 job openings listed immediately after the shooting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hour number 17 of the... Oh, wait, no, sorry. Hour number 3.
Now, before we get back to this, I had some things I wanted to say about time travel.
Before you finish your point on time travel there, Peakless Mountaineer, Richie Rich was telling me that Peakless Mountaineer had some other thoughts on time travel.
Well, see, it's more like a timey-wimey ball of stuff.
Stop it, you're confusing the polarity.
This is why I'm the funny one, man. Just nail the joke once and then...
If jokes are even real, Richie Rich.
If jokes are even your mom.
And that's a throwback joke from like months ago.
You thought I'd forget, didn't you?
No, because I overrode that one a whole bunch of times.
It's a timey-wimey evening.
It is Free Talk Live, believe it or not. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us over the phone and get on the air, talk about whatever's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And I teased this bit just before we went to the break about, I called it Homo Robocopus.
Excellent name.
Because
why isn't there a band called Homo Robocopus?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because Apple has the trademark.
Damn it.
You know, I'm kind of surprised that no megacorp has decided to just start copywriting every possible combination of letters.
Well,
just
somebody
send them in there.
Somebody recently did that with music.
Right.
Somebody put out an algorithm that copyrighted every possible melody that could be constructed, and then now it's free domain.
Released it into the public domain.
Yeah, everybody,
nice.
They just said, Creative Commons or whatever it was. They, did it in some sort of way that yep, go ahead, everybody. And I was like, that is a great way to outsmart the frickin' government.
It is.
That's brilliant.
And then Vanilla Ice went back in time to win his lawsuit.
Ding, 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 ding. Ting. Yes. So this from the New York Post. France, China, developing biologically engineered super soldiers. That's right. The future is here.
Go on.
And it wants to kill you.
Just 2 weeks after it was announced China was developing biologically enhanced super soldiers, France, that's right, France, has joined the fray in creating Terminator troops that can be bred to kill,
or wave a right flag,
according to a new report.
France has this strange reputation of being, not warlike or potentially even cowardly.
And it's weird because it's not true.
It's not. They've got more nukes than England, man. Most people don't even know they have nukes.
French nukes?
They throw a pretty good revolution, too.
They've got hundreds of these things.
The French seek to improve physical, cognitive, perceptive, and psychological capacities.
I didn't know they had a seek.
And could allow for location tracking or connectivity with weapon systems and other soldiers. Among the ministry's research were drugs to keep troops awake for long periods of time and combat stress, and even surgery to improve hearing.
Wait, I've heard this one before.
Just wait till that trickles down to the consumer market. You will never get a day off.
Right? Yeah. How come you weren't at work for the entire week? Yeah, every day, all the time.
Yeah, it always kind of surprised me that meth was still illegal. Wouldn't you want your drones working as hard as possible?
Did you say meth?
Yeah.
Meth is FDA approved.
What?
It's called Ritalin, right?
No. I can't think of the name offhand. Shoot, forget it. But I can't think of the name offhand. Disoxin is the clinical term. There you go.
Right,
but it's FDA approved methamphetamine. And it's used for the treatment of ADHD and obesity. So I once got a friend hooked on it because he was my fat friend who couldn't focus. Dude, you need some meth.
So you got him hooked on it?
Sure. I mean, I didn't inject him with it, but I said, you should probably try meth. And so he did.
What a good friend.
He was my fat friend who couldn't focus, and it's FDA approved to treat ADHD and obesity.
That doesn't mean it's cool.
Actually, the fattest man I've ever met was a meth dealer.
Because you don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah. That means he was a good drug dealer.
Yeah.
No. He was terrible.
Oh, really?
No, he definitely tapped into his own supply. He just wouldn't do anything after that.
Oh, weird. So this new species of augmented soldiers, dubbed Homo Robocopus, could also have altered DNA to give them enhanced speed and strength as well as robotics. Now,
injected via vaccine.
Before I go on, I was, just kind of joking about this being Science Fiction Sunday, and, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing. I'm not joking. This is an article from the New York Post talking about things that are actually happening. Mm-hmm. I'm not making this up. This isn't part of a joke. This is,
I saw this coming. I mean, okay, so in America we have rules against, altering your DNA for this, that, or the other, but I knew this was going to come once CRISPR started existing.
Right, yeah.
So, okay... Well, guess what's going to happen?
Wait,
China's going to
tell our listeners what CRISPR is.
So CRISPR's gene editing technology. So you can, in theory, get an injection and it will go to your cells and edit your genes in whichever way you've designed this to do. And when this came out, it's like, okay, well, the United States might have a rule against this, but China doesn't. And I mean, what position does that put us in? So if they start, say, making a program to have hyperintelligence because we have identified certain genes that are associated with high intelligence, like, do you really think this restriction's going to hold on?
Do you have a moral objection to that sort of experimentation? Either of you guys?
I don't. In fact, I think human beings are going to evolve into a dichotomy, two different subsections of humanity. One will be the space explorers. I think that humans are going to realize pretty quickly that in order to successfully navigate space and travel long distances, that human modification will be necessary to do that. And that people will, gravitate towards that if that's what they want to do. And then other people will just sort of remain what I'd like to call the natural humans and just stay here on Earth. So there will be a faction of humans that are going to be the explorers, and they will they will all be sort of incentivized to become modified human beings so that they can endure space travel long term, travel to other planets and stay out in space for a long period of time, all that kind of stuff, because humans are way too fragile for that kind of stuff. So
does your opinion change if that modification is required like pre-birth, as in the development stage? Like, you're going to be bred to be an explorer.
Gattaca style?
Sure, why not?
Well, I mean, it does create a question of if there are long-term explorers who perhaps voluntarily became modified and then they procreate while they're out in space, then, I guess...
Well, if you look at it,
the kid doesn't have any choice at that point, much like people don't have any choice of the plot of land that they're born on, right?
True.
Some people have different rights just based on the geography that they fell out of their mom's vagina.
Well, and if you look at epigenetics, that might happen without trying. So their epigenetics, it's a new science, but they found that the activities you engage in your lifetime actually get encoded in which parts of your DNA do and do not get used. So the people that did end up going to space, for like these seasteading style colonies or what have you, they would have different epigenetics, and that would get passed on to their children.
Right, a couple generations down the road, and they wouldn't be quite as human as the earthbound humans.
They would definitely have a different expression.
Right.
They would probably still be compatible genetically, but they would have very different expression.
Right.
I think some people would just draw the line between a natural birth mutation versus a breeding program, either public or private, where those things are specifically placed to breed people who are able to go into space.
Well, and you asked about the morality on it, and like everything else, I think it really comes down to, is it voluntary?
Right.
So I mean, am I okay with people changing their bodies? It's your body. Do what you want with it.
Right.
Am I okay with people having to have their bodies changed? Not so much.
No.
But it would not be voluntary for the group of beings born that this was encoded into them before they had a chance to consent or not.
That's
right.
true.
Right. Well, and that kind of brings up the question of adulthood again, right? When is somebody adult enough to make their own decisions? It certainly isn't an age that we can put on everybody across the board. There has to be some other way of evaluating that to make those decisions.
Sure.
603-283-6160. Would you choose to become an augmented human to travel in space?
Yes.
More Free Talk Live coming up.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
And that's how space travel is possible today.
Oh, wait. Did that go out live?
Oh, oops. I gave away the secrets. It is 603-283-6160. That's the name of the show. No, that's the phone number for the studio if you want to call and be part of the show.
The game's basically over. You might as well call in.
The game is over?
No, but I mean,
The game is up. The game is
jig
rigged.
is up.
The jig is up.
But if they were watching the game, they wouldn't know that you just said that.
That's true.
If you're listening to Free Talk Live but watching the superb owl, Richie Rich has a spoiler for you.
No, I don't. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a spoiler guy. The game. Cubs win. Cubs win.
Tom Brady hit a home run.
Heard he got 3 points for it.
3 points. Nice. Patrick Mahomes had a touchback.
He's not doing anything as far as I can see.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
This is Free Talk Live, if you were wondering. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And you can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those can be found on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021, and we'll see you at forkfest.party.
Someone maybe even might give a presentation on why libertarians should social distance and mask up.
That would be ironic.
I'm getting the death stare from the camera.
I was hoping for a witty retort, but I got nothing. I got nothing. I will explain. That's how space travel is possible today. Is a thing that me and my friends used to say when, like you're standing around talking about something that you shouldn't be talking about at work, for example, and like somebody that you don't really trust very much, like kind of comes by. And like to see like what you're talking about, like you can tell they're walking up there, they want to get in the conversation, and you see them coming up, and they got that big old look in their eyes. They're like, "I'm going to be friends with these guys." And you're like, and that's how space travel is possible today.
That's just mean. Yeah. Although my favorite way to like end the discussion when you obviously don't have any interest in it is, "Sorry, bro, I'm just not that into Pokemon."
All right, before we continue talking about Homo Robocopus, let's go to Buzz Lightyear calling from New Mexico. Buzz, you're on Free Talk Live.
To infinity
and beyond.
Oh man, I forgot my line. Oh, what's my line?
Medic.
Oh, medic. Cut.
What's on your mind
That's a
tonight?
wrap.
What's on your mind tonight?
Apparently not much. Apparently not much. Was that the year that you're broadcasting from? Is that what you gave out?
The year we're broadcasting from?
The year 603-283-6160?
Oh, I thought it was the year 3109. There's your spoiler.
Hey, if you I got a really cool way for you. If you want to travel back in time and see Neanderthals,
okay,
come to New Mexico
and check out the court system.
The cops in the court system.
Well, that's the worst. Yeah, the judge. You should see the judges, man.
Hey, that is the kind of racism I will not tolerate. Neanderthals are wonderful.
It's more
speciesism. Well, maybe these are Cro-Magnons. I can't really tell the difference.
Are you sure they're not? Are you sure they're not?
I'll give you that.
Hang on. Are you sure they're not Zinjanthropy? Zinjanthropus? What's the plural of Zinjanthropus?
That's the one. Yeah, that's them. That's them. Especially that guy on the radio on KKOB on Saturday and Sunday mornings. That guy especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you should hear him.
He brought up the Neanderthals, or Neanderthals, if you're one of those people that likes pronouncing it that way instead. That's like the interesting spin-off of how like evolution would occur potentially as you look at space travel. Right? Because there's like sexual compatibility, but clearly one won out over it. And if you're going to have parallel humans going forward, one bred for space travel and one bred for like manual labor here on the Earth.
Right.
It could be as similar to the split.
But that'll
with the
be
Neanderthals.
that'll be evolutionary, not decision. Well, I mean, I
Doesn't
guess
have
it'd
to
be
be.
kind of be decision based, right?
Yeah.
If it's voluntary, then yeah, sure, why not?
Well, why do they call them Neanderthals if they're so short and squat?
I don't know, because like I don't know any girls who wear tongs.
All I'm interested in is your mother's Neander Valley.
We're getting into your mom jokes there, Buzz. Do you have anything else that you would like to say?
No, I had nothing, man. That's why I called you.
Okay, well, thanks for the call.
Perfect.
Buzz Lightyear from New Mexico. To infinity and beyond. He's definitely in the beyond section.
Absolutely.
And since we're touching on space travel yet again, one of the news stories that might have slipped through the cracks, and I don't know how much discussion it merits, but they seem to have found life on Venus. Like, that's not a setup for a joke. Like, they actually discovered certain
microbial
compounds.
life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Certain compounds that should only happen if you have something living on Venus.
Yeah.
Which is wild because it's a pretty darn inhospitable environment.
Well, I think it's pretty ridiculous for humans to have assumed, I'm not saying everybody did, but some humans did assume that we are the only life in the universe. Right? And it's like, no, there are how many billions of star systems and solar, for us to be the only life in the entire universe, I mean, that seems pretty preposterous to me.
See, I struggle with that. Sorry, Peakless. I struggle with that idea of it because as an atheist, I would use like the same excuse for lack of a supreme being, right? There might be a supreme being. There might be other life in the universe. But as it stands right now, aside from maybe your microbes on Venus, right, where is the evidence to support that claim? And that's what we have to rely on.
You're correct. It is an assumption.
Yeah.
But it's an assumption made on the available data of the billions of universi. What's the plural? Universities?
Universes. Now, I will say that we are most likely the only life form that we can meaningfully interact with. I mean, we have enough trouble interacting with other life forms that are actually on this planet. So the idea of some other
in our
life
own
form,
country,
like turning out bipedal, for example, like, come on.
Or carbon-based.
Well,
right?
I mean, if I were an alien life form and I had the ability to cruise around and check out planet Earth, I'd be like, hey, everybody, stay away from those guys. They ain't ready yet. Because we certainly are not. I mean, we can't, like you're saying, we can't even get along with each other for the most part.
Once you land in New Mexico, they're ready for you.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire.
But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeen.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeen.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. It is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk show program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever's on your mind. Our phone number in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, Captain Kickass,
Peakless Mountaineer,
and Richie Rich.
And we have been talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but a lot of it's sort of science fiction based. This latest article from the New York Post says that France and China are developing biologically engineered super soldiers. And no, this is actual.
This is not a drill.
This is not a drill. This is not science fiction. This is not something we made up. This is going on. It's happening.
It's fake news out of China to throw off the Americans.
This goes on to say, we've reached the point now where we could potentially manipulate people's DNA to breed them extra strength, endurance, and other things just as we do with animals, Clark said. Just as we've done with standard cattle to give them more back, we can do that now very precisely with humans.
Just wait till they want to play collegiate sports.
Now, maybe I don't keep up on the news as much as I should, but when did they start giving super strength to cows? When did they start giving enhanced senses to other animals? Are there hyper wolves that I should be concerned about?
Only in Canada.
Yeah, I think
yes, they have mechanical howls up there.
Yeah,
I believe that there are genetically modified cows in the restaurants around the world. You know, beef, right? You know,
have they been genetically modified to be willing to be eaten?
I doubt that.
Circa Douglas Adams?
Yeah, I don't think that has occurred. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. However, humans have been doing this even before, we'll say, like DNA programming or CRISPR has been around by just breeding. Just breeding, right? Look at all the different, show dogs.
The genetic
and
modification
that kind of thing.
I trust.
Right.
Because you're not going to mess it up.
Okay, but if you mess it up and you just scrap it, right? What makes the natural method more economical or better
or more moral or ethical,
right? Than CRISPR or any other sort of scientific modification.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because sometimes when you start mucking about with the genes, the organism rejects it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you one of the popular things to do these days is to take the part of salmon that lets them avoid getting frozen and put it in strawberries.
Right.
Okay.
That way it's a more frost-resistant fish berry.
But even with natural breeding processes, and I'm just going to dogs because I kind of know something about breeding dogs.
It's not infallible.
Purebreds, like German Shepherds, for example, are infamous for having hip problems as they get older. And that's because of the purebred nature of the dog.
Right. Purebred is a very nice way of saying heavily inbred.
Right. Whereas if the German Shepherd is crossed with another breed of dog that doesn't have this chronic problem, the dogs enjoy a much fuller and healthier, age life when they reach that age. So,
or plants with fruit. There's people that splice the fruit branch of a fruit tree onto another tree, and it grows the fruit of the original tree.
Right.
From from the new tree.
Right. So what makes that more ethical than monkeying around with CRISPR or DNA programming?
Well, so some of the things that can happen. So you've got your strawberry with fish DNA, for example. Now, one of the things that can happen to that is that chunk that you just spliced into there might get rejected from their DNA. Now, if that happens, there's a couple of things that can happen with that. So it might kick this out and then try and fill the void, but it doesn't know what to fill it with, so it just does random things there. So you end up with just random proteins being created. That's one thing that can happen. So thing that can happen...
Before you go on, is your concern then that as a human, we will ingest that modified strawberry and not know the results of that change as we digest it?
That's one possible issue.
Otherwise, if it mutates and the strawberry's not viable, you just throw it away and try another experiment.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You might end up ingesting a strawberry that, the next generation doesn't have cognitive thought. Whoops. So another thing that can happen is that chunk that gets rejected from the DNA might actually start wandering, trying to find a new place for it to fit itself into.
Right, and create a new subspecies or something. Right. Yeah. Strawberry-flavored salmon.
Right. Yeah, and you just don't know what that's going to do. So
but that's why you experiment. You do the experiment, you look at the results, you see what happens, and you go whoops, or yay.
Well, and that's the thing. You never know when an absolutely catastrophic error is going to occur.
Okay.
So, most of the time it's not going to be a big problem, but one of those times it's going to be super Ebola.
Okay.
The one thing about humans that I am fairly certain of is that human beings are tinkerers, regardless. Doesn't matter what culture you're from. Doesn't matter what continent you grew up in, what government you're under. People like to mess with things. We like to build things, right? We're tinkerers, right? We like to explore. We like to solve, right? We like to find out, what does this do? We're curious people.
And GMO foods is how you feed, the largest population ever, right? They would starve to death if it wasn't for corn genetically modified that they can sustain their life on and sustain the current population of the planet.
Maybe. It's really tough to tell, honestly, what ability we would have if we didn't have governments getting in the way of feeding.
That's true, because there is a surplus of food on the planet. There's more than enough food for every human being on the planet. What we have is a distribution problem because, governments won't get out of the way.
Right.
Okay. But I don't think you would have that level if everything was organically grown, non-genetically modified.
Right, tough to tell.
Could somebody have invented a version of corn that wasn't genetically modified, that was bred, that is as resilient as the GMO corn?
Well, people do that.
Good question.
They crossbreed vegetables, like that,
right,
with the seeds, right? There's an anecdote about the farmer who wins the corn competition every year, and you go, well, how do you win every year? And he goes, well, I give the good corn to my neighbors so they can go good corn too. And it's like, well, if you give them that, then aren't you introducing competition? It's like, no, because the corn pollen crossbreeds, right? And if they don't grow good corn, my corn will drop in quality as well. So in order for me to have the best corn, they also have to be able to grow the best corn. So there's crossbreeding anyway.
And this is also one of the issues when, for example, Monsanto comes up with a corn that can only grow in the presence of Roundup, is that its pollen can get into, like, normal corn, and you have the same problem.
Right.
And then they will sue you for copyright infringement.
Right. And I'm totally against that. Right, but for them,
I'm also against you monkeying with it in the first place. Leave it alone.
But people monkey with it anyway. It's just they do it a different way than crossbreeding or cross pollination.
One thing's for sure.
And if we had a decent court system, if they ruin your entire crop, you could actually sue them. But
and I would be
Monsanto,
for that.
So good luck.
I would be for that. If they're going to have that weird stuff and it's going to negatively impact your crop, you have been damaged, you are owed something.
Well, due to DNA manipulations, according to this article, future soldiers could also be immune to disease and feelings.
Perfect killing machines.
That's right. A recent report by the International Society for Military Ethics in Europe, obtained by The Sun, reveals a dystopic arena full of bionic men capable of fighting, quote, all the time, unquote. Enhanced soldiers would be reduced to bionic men who run fast, do not need sleep, eat and drink very little, and can fight all the time, the report states. A new species is born, Homo robocopus.
Sounds like teenage boys to me.
Watching RoboCop? I wish I had a quote from RoboCop. I don't have one off the top of my head. 603-283-6160. Something about you're coming with me. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up. I am just having a horrible time.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. The final segment of this Sunday night science fiction edition.
The superb Sunday night science fiction edition.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, very well. Very well. Well done. I'd give out the phone number, but it's probably too late for you to get on the air.
Unless you have, in fact, mastered the art of the closed time-like curve.
In which case, you already know the number.
Call in and we'll take it live.
We'll do it live.
Unscreened in the last segment?
I don't know, man. No? I don't know. I'm quick with the dump button, but...
That's all you need.
I've been challenged recently.
Okay.
In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
So we've been talking about this article from the New York Post, talking about super soldiers coming soon. Enhanced soldiers would be reduced to bionic men.
Coming soon to an abuse of power near you.
Yeah, this is definitely going to get out of hand with governments, because you know that this is all going to start. One government's going to start doing this, and then it's going to be another weapons race, much like the nuclear arms race.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about this first. Well, I
think so.
I understand that, but how much of modern warfare is soldiers in like ground warfare?
Oh, it's all video games now, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're still ground troops. They have to do,
Okay, well...
Yeah.
But what if you had an unlimited supply?
It's a fair point, but okay. How useful is something like a SEAL team? Pretty darn.
Right.
Okay, so it's going to be that. It's going to be super soldier, a super soldier race, but not for like a marching line of red infantry with muskets. No, but for like a strategical strike from a very, very capable unit.
Okay. Then I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem as they're breeding an entire army of super soldiers to do what? You just push the button and the drone flies and bombs whatever.
Make sure you wear your mask.
Okay.
Yeah, to root out people.
So that would be more of a police system then, less of a soldiers.
Well,
right?
So think about areas of the world. I'm thinking the mountains of Iraq, for example, where no superpower has ever been able to take control of because the population is heavily armed. They're able to hide in these system of caves that nobody from outside of that area is even familiar with.
Okay.
And so, what better to root out that type of an enemy than super soldiers who never tire, never need sleep, could keep going on, et cetera, and so on.
No, I get it, but then I think then you're saying you regress back to like empire building in the textual definition, right? Like you march in the soldiers to take this plot of land, and if you have the best super soldiers, you get the plot of land.
Well, Sir Lawrence Friedman, professor of war studies at KCL, told the Sun that robotics are of more importance than the DNA manipulation. So this would be, technologically improving the humans. There are people going back into combat in ways they wouldn't have been able to before because prosthetics have been improved. You can use Google Glasses. There's lots of things you can do now with a modern soldier that makes them much more effective than they were in the past. If you want people to act just according to orders going into great danger, the other trend you can see that is pretty active at the moment is drones, autonomous vehicles, and so on. While France claims it will abide by humanitarian law, French Armed Forces Minister Florence Parly warned, "We have to be clear. Not everyone has the same scruples as us, and we have to prepare ourselves for such a future," she said. Here are some of the tech in progress to create the Homo Robocampus, according to The Sun. Brain microchips. France has been given the all-clear to develop microchips to enhance soldier brain power. Bionic eyes. Being developed in Hong Kong, this gives users infrared and night vision. Super hearing. The U.S. Tactical Communication and Protective Systems are smart earbuds which boost soldiers' hearing to be near superhuman. I could use a pair of those. Health implant. DARPA, the Pentagon's research arm, is developing cyborg implants to monitor combat efficiency. Enhanced limbs. A DEVCON report revealed plans to equip U.S. soldiers with enhanced limbs for increased strength. Exoskeleton legs. We've seen this in science fiction movies. The U.S. Army has tested an exoskeleton which can be attached to soldiers' legs and can increase their productivity by up to 27 times. Synthetic blood. Respirosite is a theoretical red blood cell that could help soldiers not get out of breath and stay underwater for hours. Pain immunity. DARPA's Persistence in Combat Initiative would allow soldiers to have their pain suppressed for 30 days. Imagine all of those things in one super soldier.
Everything you listed so far, aside from the brain implant, sounds like a positive to me.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Well, right. So you mentioned that, how much of combat is really done person to person anyway. Okay, yeah, fair enough. But here's one of the things that you can do. So if you have your genetically engineered super soldier for enhanced neurological response, better multitasking, things like that, well, great. So they can, fly 50 drones at the same time with a better visual system than any computer has, because humans do still have the advantage on visual systems.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of applications on this. Now, honestly, as far as genetic engineering goes, the thing that really concerns me is that they might, isolate the genes that make us, libertarian, that makes us want to question the powers that be.
That's why I don't like the brain implant.
Right. So there's the brain implant, and there's the possibility of genetic engineering. What if they, say, make a disease that is also a retrovirus that just takes those genes out of the population?
Right. Yeah, no.
And all of a sudden, my kind ceases to exist.
Well, so this list of things, these implants, if you will, these, additions that don't require any, sort of genetic modification, these are the things that I think are going to propel people into the spacefaring people.
Sure.
Right? The modified humans, right? You seek out these modifications that give you, different powers, abilities to heal, abilities to not feel pain, abilities
to survive. That's why I like all
stuff.
The powers except for the brain implant, because if they can control your will, right, or your mental faculties, then they can use all of those to your disadvantage.
Right.
Then again, Anonymous might hack it.
Which would be even worse, because then you're just posting memes all day with your super finger button.
Wait, so I already have a superpower? I didn't know that. Wow, I'm genetically superior.
All of a sudden, Pepe the Frog is everywhere. No, but you get what I'm saying, right? All of those are net benefit for Earth application or spacefaring application if they don't mess with your brain. Like if you keep your free will and your intellect intact.
Except it kind of depends, because you're making a power differential there. So the people that can afford, super eyes, ears, and blood, if they want to say, enslave a population that can't do all of that, they're going to have a much easier time doing it.
How about this? The creation of these superhumans and or super soldiers, because I assume the first ones are going to be soldiers. They're not going to be just they're not going to be like, hey, regular Joe, let's get you some super implants. Right, that's not going to happen.
Flip burgers at Mach speed.
Right, yeah. I assume that's not going to happen. But what if the creation of these modified human beings, whether they're genetic or technologically modified or both, coincide with the advent of the singularity?
And those are the ones that take over? Or that they create the computer module that takes over?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you end up with Terminator, and then the Muggle humans have to fight back.
The Muggle humans?
Yeah, the ordinaries, the normal people that don't have superpowers.
Right.
Well, and I think it's the emergence of these technologies that makes it so important right now to get out there and find ways to get around the institutions that have been enslaving us.
I also don't worry too much about the wealth disparity, because the wealthy people are always going to have more, better, bigger things than normal people anyway. Like that's one of the benefits of being wealthy, man. Right. So if you introduce a new technology, guess who gets it first? The wealthy. And trickle down economics might not be a thing, but if you don't have those first movers investing in those high prices early, lower people don't ever get the chance to, experience those technologies.
Well, but the problem is that the highest wealth disparities are when you have the government protectionism. So those wealthy people are not just good at their stuff, they're politically connected.
I'm with you, Peakless. I would like to do or see all of these institutions like, government, for example, who claim a monopoly on violence, to get out of everybody's way so that these things can be explored voluntarily and independently rather than only being funneled to humanity through the violence of government.
Right, and I will accept that too. Don't pin it on me like I'm supporting government, the government doing all these things. I'm not, but I can see the development of it being positive.
Word.
There's definitely positive possibilities.
We're out of time. Join us tomorrow. Free Talk Live. Peace.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks. Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need. A WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon.